How many of us are witnesses that God is able? Yeah, God is able. Yeah, God is able. The songwriter says, exceedingly, abundantly above all you can ask of him, according to his power that works in you. That indeed he is. He's able. Genesis chapter 8, verses 1 through 5. Genesis chapter 8, verses 1 through 5. And the text read, but God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month. And on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. God, we thank you, we bless you, we praise you for this day. Ask you to breathe on us, give us preaching power, the anointing that makes preaching a joy. And we shall forever bless you and praise you. In the name of our Christ, we do pray. Amen. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. I want to tag this text with this title, when your assignment is to clean up the mess. When your assignment is to clean up the mess. Yeah, turn and look at your neighbor and say to your neighbor, that's probably why I work with you so hard. I'm cleaning up cleaning up the mess. When your assignment is to clean up the mess. Not known to many beyond the leadership of this church, but I experienced a flood in the basement of the parsonage that has caused me to stay in a hotel for the past 4 months. I want to thank Trustee Dillon and the leadership of this church for making every effort to make this journey as bearable as possible, and for George for dropping off fried chicken on a Friday. Let me just say, I like going to a hotel for vacation or a conference, but 4 months is a different story. Yet it's better to have somewhere to sleep rather than not to have anywhere to sleep at all. I've not talked about it, and that's the leadership not to talk about it, because I did not want to magnify it in my mind. This week, something happened, however, that is so germane to this sermon that I thought it would be a good time to share. I told you that sometimes God allows me to experience the sermon before I get to preach the sermon. This past Thursday, the team came out to the parsonage to do their asbestos remediation because some of it was discovered during the demolition of the floor in the basement. And I spoke briefly with the lead person of the team before the work began. But after I talked with them for a while, some reflections from this sermon tapped me on my shoulder, because God was allowing me to experience the sermon before preaching the sermon. I had a few reflections. Number one, the cleaner, the asbestos team, had been assigned to a mess that they did not make. No one knew years ago, when such a component was being used, that it would one day become messy. However, they had been assigned to a mess. Now, just in case y'all thinking, G is good with the artwork, but that ain't the basement. Just I see somebody out there praying, Lord, help him, help him. Y'all want to beat up on Steve after now, but you get the picture though. The cleaner did not make the old tiles that contained the asbestos. He did not install it. He did not remove it from the floor, yet he was assigned to a mess he did not make. Number two, the cleaner had been assigned to a mess that had to be cleaned. He did not make the mess to which he was assigned, but the mess could not go untouched either. Common sense nor law would allow us to act like the damage had not occurred. This was not an old exercise of stick your head in the sand, and if you don't see anybody, nobody can see you. Some messes cannot be left alone. Some messes cannot be walked over and cannot be accepted as routine. They have to be cleaned. But number three, the cleaner had been assigned a mess that required special skills and equipment. They needed suits and gloves and shoe coverings and the knowledge of how to handle the mess that was before them. I had an aha moment. I said to myself, Self, this is the sermon come alive. Let's see. Now, we learn about Noah, who built the ark, the big boat, from school, church school, and Bible class. It has always been one of those Bible stories that is acted out in drama with kids and vacation Bible school and so forth. It is a drama. It is a scene that shows us what a mess looked like on earth. Genesis chapter 6, verses 5 and 7, the Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted, get this, the Lord regretted, apologized, repented that he had made humans on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, Lord, the butterfly ain't got nothing to do with all mess, but getting wiped out too. The birds and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. And then Genesis 6, verses 11 through 12 give us more detail. Now, the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on the earth had corrupted their ways. As the great theologian Gussie would say, everybody was going to hell in a handbasket. It was a mess, a sinful mess, a stinking mess, and a mess that could not go untouched. So when we turn to Genesis chapter 6, verses 8, 9, and 13, it says, but Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. So God said to Noah, I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I'm surely going to destroy both them and the earth. But get this. And the next verse to come, God gives the details, and in essence, God says to Noah, Noah, I'm going to clean up the mess, and you are going to help me. Yes, sir. Come on. Now get this. Noah never stepped out on nothing and created something. Yeah. Noah never put a man and a woman in a garden. Yeah. Noah didn't create sin. Noah didn't make the mess, but yet Noah is being assigned to help clean up the mess. Preach, stars, I think I will. According to God, it was a mess that could not continue. It had to be clean, and just anybody could participate. God needed a special kind of person to participate in the mess, and God looked out and saw Noah and said, guess what? You got a new job and a new job description. You see, mess cleaning is broad in nature, assigned to cleaning up the mess. Could be sweeping up broken glass, but it could be ministering to broken hearts. Cleaning up the mess could not only be cleaning a table upon which someone is eating, but it could also be helping a wayward child. Cleaning up a mess can not only be wiping down a greasy countertop, but it could be helping a spouse in need. Cleaning the mess could be prepping a wall for painting, but it may also be praying for a ministry in chaos. And sometimes God assigns us to clean messes. Preach it always, I think I will. I know we all have dreams. I know we all have aspirations. I know some want to lead a movement. Some want to be the best at what they do. Still others want to raise great families, and still there are others who simply want to retire and happily fade into the sunset. However, there are moments when God assigns us a cleanup job in the midst of your aspiration. Maybe, did I say maybe? Maybe you are in the family that you are in because God has assigned you as the one to clean up the mess. Maybe you have the friends that you have because God has assigned you to clean up the mess. Maybe you are in the ministry that you are in because God has assigned you to clean up. Come here. Maybe you are in the church that you are in because God has assigned you as a mess cleaner. I know you're frustrated and about to lose your everlasting mind. I know you are 2 minutes and 15 seconds from quoting something that's not the Lord's Prayer. But I just want to drop in your spirit. The proposition that God just maybe has assigned you the task of mess cleanup. It didn't make it, but it's been assigned to your hands. Starwood, can't you preach better than that? I'm trying. Get this. Here's the temptation. The temptation, and I've failed at this temptation a lot of times, so I confess that. The temptation is to discard what God has assigned us to clean up. As you know, I have some grandkids. Some older, some younger. And when the ones who are younger, I can't wait to take them to McDonald's. Make them fat like me. I can't wait to hang out with them. But I've told their parents one thing is required before I take them. They have to know how to say, I need to go to the bathroom. I don't need a diaper changing endeavor. Sometimes we want everybody in our lives who's not messy. We want perfect people to show up. Be done with this thing of always attracting ugly people and nasty people. So every year you got to go on Facebook and tell this big lie about you deleting folk who are problems. Baby, if God has assigned you to be cleanup, you can delete your Facebook page. You can get off social media and go to the gas station and find somebody who's a mess. Woo. So just before you jump off board, and just before you think everybody's just jacked up, because we are, understand that God sometimes calls you to be a Noah to help participate in the cleanup. Noah can't make it rain. He can't make it stop raining. but God knows he can build a boat. Preacher, you said it's a mess that has to be touched. Even if you make it and you need special skills, what skills do you need? Let me see if I can drop a few with you. Number one, you must develop a capacity to endure the silence. Don't pre-preach me. Please don't pre-preach me. You're going to go down the wrong street. You're going to go down the wrong street. You must develop a capacity to endure the silence. I can hear you. I've been preaching for a while. I know how to hear people when I'm preaching. Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I do. I can hear you say, Reverend, if the record is that Noah is on the boat and there are animals everywhere, there got to be sound everywhere. The ongoing chirp of a bird, the growl of a bear, the moo of a cow, the blab of a goat, or the call of an elephant. There is nothing but sound. And if I know people the way I know people, I'm sure Noah's family, though happy to be on the boat, still got a complaint or two. Like, is this really what God told you to do? A lot of noises on the boat, but then we get a statement out of Genesis 8, verse 1, part A. And here's what the statement says. But God remembered Noah. Think about that thing bothered me. But God remembered Noah. Wait a minute. Ain't nobody here but Noah and his folk. That's right. God, what else you doing? Come on now. That you got to remember. You see, this word remember is zakar. It means to bring to mind. The text suggests that there has been a period or periods when Noah was not in God's forefront or conversation. Therefore, hearing no words. Get this. We desire to hear God daily, and bless God if you do. I don't want to argue with you if you do or not. Bless God wherever you are. But I will say there are moments when you are in the midst of a draining experience, and the one voice you want to hear the most, you do not hear. There are moments when you want to hear God's voice, and there are sometimes moments when you will not hear anything. There are moments when we are on a tough cleanup assignment, and we want to hear God, and sometimes there's silence. I want to say to each of you to seek to hear God's voice, but when there is silence, don't give up on the assignment. Because there will be moments when you will go in your office and shut the door and say, God, I believe you sent me here, but what in the is going on? And when are you going to show up and fix it? And how long do I have to do this? And by the way, didn't you hear me pray the last time when we had this conversation? And in that you will get silence sometimes. Lord, I'm sick, I'm ill, I'm taking this treatment that's making me feel worse than I feel without it. Where are you? Chuck Swindoll says God's silence does not mean God's absence. Silence is God's call to grow deeper. Pope Benedict XVI says God is our God, our Father, who loves us even when silence remains incomprehensible. There are moments when there will be powerful voices, and there are moments when there will be silence. And if God is going to use us to clean up some messes, Noah tells us that we have to develop a capacity to embrace the silence. That you got to say, God, though I don't hear you talking right now, I believe you are with me. I believe you have a plan. I believe you have called me to this. I'm going to do it despite not hearing your voice. There must be a capacity to embrace the silence. But second of all, we must develop a capacity to be grateful for incremental steps. Not just the major and large steps, but the small, tiny steps. Genesis chapter 8, verses 2 through 4 says, now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down, and on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Pastor, can you unpack that? Because that's a whole lot of... end of this and end of that and end of this. Get this. You see, we have taken the journey of Noah and wrapped it into a 40-day journey. But if Noah were here, he would say 40 days my foot. I think that's what he would say. You see, you cannot look at something or someone and think they got as good as they are or where they are in just one step. They did not arrive overnight, but they had some blows. They had some trip-ups. They had some falls. They had some tears. It has taken something to get there. When we hear these powerful and gifted musicians play, they didn't get there in one big jump. There are people who cook very well. They didn't get there overnight. They have burned some ham hocks and some turnip greens. They just didn't get there overnight. The people who are good with fabrics didn't get there overnight. The first thing they made, they wouldn't even wear themselves. They didn't just get there overnight. To take Noah's journey and wrap it into 40 days is to miss the mark. There were incremental steps along the way. And when incremental steps happen, we have to stop at each one and say, God, thank you. You have to tell yourself, I didn't get everything clean today, but I did get a new broom. You see, there are many estimates about Noah. I read one estimate this week that said Noah was 480 years when he was told to build the ark, and 600 when the flood came, which means he had decades to a century to build the ark. Nothing was overnight. The flood lasted 40 days, but Noah was on the ark 371 days after the flood stopped. Y'all, we know how that feels because we got caught in COVID. Couldn't leave the house. There were incremental steps. Telling the family, that's one step. Cutting a tree, that's one step. Pulling the log, that's one step. Fighting with an elephant, trying to get him on board, that's one step. Dealing with the frustration of the stinking mess that was on the ark, that was a step. You have to see this process as one step, then another step, then another step. We all go through steps. Look at it. It's on the monitor. I won't do it. I can't do it. I want to do it, but how do I do it? I will try to do it. Oh, I can do it. Oh, I will do it. Oh, yes, I did it. It is just one step at a... What if your mom and dad had given up on you the first time they said something? Listen, when God has assigned your hands to a cleanup, it will take a lot of baby steps. And one of the biggest steps might be the preparing of yourself to be able to clean the mess. Get this, priest, where's Razor? If God has called me to clean up the mess, and I show up as I am, as a mess, I might be cleaning the mess at the same time that God is cleaning the mess in me. Come here, y'all. So sometimes it's the dust that's in the mess that's getting on me, and at other times it's the dust in me that's getting on the mess. Polish on, polish off. Wax on, wax off. Water on. I'm working on it, and God is working on me. If you have any doubt that steps do work, look at your own life. Remember there was a time when somebody would talk about you, and you would go home and think about it all night. Why are they talking about me? Lord, I can't believe they talking about me. They shouldn't be talking about me. Somebody always talking about me. I wonder if they talked about anybody else, because they just always talking about me. Lord, help me. I'm just a poor traveler trying to get home. That's what used to be, but because you kept living and took some steps, when folk talk about you, you go home now and what they say, it works like NyQuil. It just pushes you right out to sleep. You don't worry about it. You don't think about it. You don't stay up about it. It does not even cross your mind. And when somebody reminds you of what they said, you say, oh, did they say that? I didn't know they said that. Help me, somebody in here. You're not like the person who, when a friend told him so-and-so is talking about you, person said, nah, they don't know me. Because if they knew me, they could have said something much worse. Help me preach it here. Capacity for the silence. And the capacity to be grateful for incremental steps. I'm not back in the parsonage yet, but I'm on my way. But third, let me rush on up through here. We must develop a capacity to see the mountains rather than the mess. Whew. Genesis 8, verse 5, the waters continued to recede until the 10th month. And on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. The waters kept receding, and then the tops of the mountains became visible. When you have a major task of cleaning mess, you can become so accustomed to seeing mess that you think ain't nothing there but mess. But when you keep looking, every now and again, God will show you a mountaintop. And every time you see a mountaintop, you got to pause long enough to take your eyes off the mess. Help me, somebody in here. And celebrate God for the mountaintop. Because in every mess, there are some mountaintops. The first mountain that were existing was when the ark, rested on Ararat. But he couldn't see those mountains because they were underwater. But the Bible says the water kept on receding until they can see other mountains. You see, when you're dealing with mess, cleaning mess, you need hope in your life. To know that your work is not in vain. To know this thing is going to pay off after a while. So every now and again, you got to say to yourself, it's getting better. Come on, core team, I'm done, but I got one more point. I got 4 instead of 3 today. And the final one is this. You got to develop a capacity to believe and to know that God is able. To know God is able. Preachers, I held up the calling of Moses and that of Noah. You remember Moses said, nah, I ain't going. I can't talk. And we don't even know your name. But we don't get that with Noah. And I wonder why we don't get that. Here's what I believe. If I'm not correct, we'll get it straight in heaven. I believe Noah recognized that the job assigned to his hands did not really depend on his power. But really, God has simply called him to participate. And God was able to bring it to pass. That God was in charge of making it happen. So he said, I'm going to hammer where I can. I'm going to lead where I can. But I know there's a greater power that's able. And that's what you got to keep in mind. When God has called you to clean up a mess, to say to yourself, he's able. He's able. He's able. He's able. He's just using me and working through me, but he's able.